Coyotes, Oilers tonight. Last I saw, tickets are like $1,200. So and that was a couple days ago. And
Game 82.
I'm pretty sure it's not just because Connor McDavid's in town. I'm pretty sure there's a little more to it. Fan appreciation night too. This is weird, Wolf. This is a weird one tonight. I don't think. Oh, I know. I've never experienced anything like this. I cannot. Just like talking to people that I've worked with at some point in the last. It was really like my first real job out of college. So like 14-ish years, 15 years, and even longer, I guess. Like just kind of covering it. It's just weird talking to all these people.
I was just going to
see them all tonight, you know?
Yeah, I was just going to say, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this right now? Because I know you broadcasted yesterday, of course. I was busy. I had a lot of stuff going on. River. I'm just saying, had a lot of stuff that was going on. And how are you feeling about all of this right now? Where are you emotionally?
Not great, man. I mean, but somebody asked me this morning, and I don't think from my own personal perspective I'll process it for, a week or two, or who knows. Maybe it won't really hit till next October when I'm getting ready for the season.
Yeah.
That isn't here, most likely. The two thoughts I keep going to are the fan base that has been asked to buy in while being just attacked by fan bases outside of Phoenix in the hockey world, and fan bases that don't have teams in the hockey world that are convinced, hey, if we create a horrible narrative around this team and we berate them, they're going to move to our city. I will say this, it sucks if they move to Salt Lake City, but Salt Lake City fans have been, I don't know how many there are yet.
Yeah,
maybe this will grow the game. They've been classy. It hasn't. It's been other fan bases that were never getting a team anyway. So I feel bad for the fan base because they've been asked to buy into a rebuild that is working now. And the Coyotes have the most goals they've ever had in the season this year. They've got like legitimate high-end talent, not hey, we're going to promote this player who is good and we're going to make him sound great. They have like legitimate, at least two players that probably will be great in a couple of years, and this team will probably make the playoffs next year. So those people and the people I've worked with that have become like family that don't get to do a show with Wolf and Maloney every day. That all they have is hockey right now.
I know. That sucks buttermilk right there. It really does. For me, personally, Base and Earnings, it brings back so many memories.
After weeks of virtually no comment, Big Red owner Bill Bidwell finally made the comment that most of us didn't want to hear. Bidwell announced late this morning that the football Cardinals are leaving St. Louis for Phoenix, Arizona, and they'll play their 88 home games at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. Bidwell had just finished a meeting with NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle in New York when he broke the news.
Yeah, the rumors were all over the place. I remember that. It was all season long, especially, I would say, from Halloween on. It really was growing in St. Louis. And I think immediately of the guys inside the Coyotes locker room.
Yeah.
I do. I think of those guys. There's so many questions right now that still need to be answered. Where are they going? They know where they're going, but do they really know where they're going? They have so many things they've got to get in order, so many decisions that have to be made, not the least of which are your kids.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that because I feel like I've been asked about every question about this over the last 10 years, but especially over the last week. And the players' side of things, people keep pointing to, well, they're playing in a college arena, they wanted to leave. Based on what I've heard, that's not the case at all. I know that there was a push from the NHLPA. I think that really mostly came from players on other teams. They're like, this is weird. Like, why do I have to, when I go out there and play once a year?
Totally agree with you.
But the players' side that I do think there's really something to here, like I said, I think like 95% of the players here were like, no, I want to stay in Phoenix. And they love playing in Phoenix, and you've got, hockey players love to golf. It's a pretty good place to golf, right? A lot of the great players come down here and train in the off-season of all times because of Austin Matthews, because he brings a lot of them here, and he trains with a lot of the guys that play for the Coyotes that stay here. But the instability of never knowing, I mean, I know that this really became a story for a lot of people over the last few weeks, or like I would maintain this is all happening because of the Tempe vote last May. That truly, to me, is when this happened. So you could say it's been hanging over them for a year. It's been hanging over this team for over a decade. And as a player, I'm sure it's very similar of like, yeah, okay, I'll play in this arena. It's a very unique environment that a lot of these guys have embraced. But I would like to know I'm playing here next year in Phoenix, and I don't have to keep worrying if I have to move my family every single year.
Yeah, no, it is so hard. It really is because, life gets in the way of moving. It does. You have a routine. There are so many players, and you already said this, so many guys that love being here. I know this because I talked to Donor. I'll talk to Donor, and Donor will tell me this all the time. Guys love, to your point, love playing here in Phoenix. It is an awesome. Can you imagine? In the wintertime, I've got to go down to Arizona, and we've got to play, and we will have days off from time to time. And, look, it is a great place to actually be in the NHL or be in the NBA, for that matter. It is. It's a great place to be. When you're traveling back east and all over in the snow and you're dealing with all that, sub-zero temps.
I always laugh at this, how many times Canadian media members over the last 10 years have been like, it shouldn't be a hockey team down there. And then they all show up when Calgary is playing down here in December. Like, all of a sudden, it's more fun to be in Phoenix for this road trip than under 3 feet of snow.
I know, but it's so much of the time you want to plan. And this is what really bothered me in St. Louis. I wanted a plan. I'm really, really good at planning, Basinonians. I'm talking about strategic level planning. What are we going to do? That, I think, is my strength, if I can be so humble and actually say that myself. I think that is my strength. What are we going to do? The how we're going to do it? Stephanie, where are you? Where are you? And again, it's a situation right now. I'm thinking of the guy that is, okay, he's got all of these questions. Where do we move in Utah? Where in Salt Lake do we go? Where do we not go as well? Where, what schools? You've got all these decisions that you've got to make, all these plans that you've got to make because of your kids. So many of these guys have kids. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them do.
Even if you don't have kids here, I mean, you have a life here. You have a bunch of people that, and I thought Bear was really good when we had him on last week. He's like, to a certain extent, as a player and as a coach, you sign up for the fact that you might get traded or you might move. Yes. But it shouldn't be hanging over you all the time. It really shouldn't. And he pointed this out, but I think it's worth bringing up again. They beat the Penguins on January 22nd. They were 23-19-3. So we're into the second half of the season. They have a winning record, and they're right in the thick of the playoff race. And anybody that's followed this team closely knows there's been a lot of just made-up reports over the years of, hey, the Coyotes are going to leave, to see if that would just cause more problems. From different marketplaces, they would just bring it up. But there was a report that came out at right around that game, actually. And from that point on, the Coyotes lost, 14 in a row?
Yes.
I find it hard to believe that's just a total coincidence. 14 in a row for a team that was above 500 and since then is playing above 500, too.
And once again, that is also the feeling that I can share with these guys because I knew what that was like, especially when we hit December in St. Louis. We all thought this is going to happen. We didn't get official word that it was going to happen, but we all believed this was going to happen. And, oh, man, that put us in a context that was just so weird. You have to be settled. It's one of the things about the game of football, ladies and gentlemen. Professionally, if you are a mess in your personal life, you're going to have a really, really hard time playing the game and playing the game of football correctly, unless, of course, you're Lawrence Taylor. All right? If you're Lawrence Taylor, somehow, some way, he could be doing lines before a game, and this was by his own admission, and yet he'd go out and he'd play. Okay, and he was that talented and that special. I'm just saying, for most professional athletes, they need context. I know that I needed context, and this is the context that the Coyote players have been operating in. And to your point about the 14-game losing streak, I think that's no accident.
It's such a 14-game losing streak's typically going to be an outlier, but that's something you see on a team that's bad, and then they struggle, and then maybe they win 2 games, and they lose 14 in a row, and then maybe they win 1 and lose another 5. Coyotes, if you take that 14-game streak out, are basically a playoff team, and the timing of it is just too much of a coincidence for me to believe that didn't have any impact on them at all, because they have fully embraced playing at Mullett Arena. That whole Mullett Magic thing for last year and most of this year, I mean, they beat some of the best teams in the league in dramatic fashion, but you'd like to know that you can invest just the same way the fans would.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.